This might be a hard pill to swallow, but your judgments of others say more about you than them. Every judgment you make of others has something to teach you about yourself. Are you willing to go deeper? You may have heard of perception as projection. It's true. What you see in others is in you, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Let's learn more about it now. Do you feel better when you judge other people? When you judge others, you're judging yourself. And so what are you really protecting yourself from? It's time to get into the shadows, into the dark, because the light comes from the darkness. It's time to stop judging yourself. It's time to get to know who you are.
Welcome to Life by 8, your blueprint for living the most extraordinary life. I am Rebecca Grugan, your life architect on this journey to designing your ultimate life. If you are ready to level up using values levels, understanding yourself with the energetic blueprint, our 8 pillars to human wellness framework, this is for you. You are in the right place, so let's go.
Welcome to today's episode, where we are looking at something we all experience, but don't often examine too closely, and that's judgment. Specifically, how our judgments of others can actually reveal deeper truths about ourselves. So grab a cup of coffee or a tea and settle in, and let's unpack the fascinating mirror that judgment can hold up to ourselves, to our own lives. Some of this may be hard to hear, but judgment, it is a natural part of being human, and we all do it consciously or unconsciously. And we judge how people dress, talk, act, and sometimes we don't realize how these judgments reflect our own insecurities, values, and personal growth areas. And so in this episode, we're going to explore how our judgments of others aren't just them. They're often a window into ourselves. And in NLP, we call this perception is projection. And so let's start with the basics. What is judgment? When we talk about judgment in this context, we are referring to our internal reactions to other people's behaviors, choices, or appearances. Maybe you roll your eyes when someone posts something on social media, or you think someone is too much for being loud and expressive. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why? What is it about their behavior that bothers you so much? Psychologically, judgments often stem from our unconscious mind. Judgments often stem from our unconscious mind. They're like little clues about our beliefs, our fears, and our unresolved issues. So when you find yourself judging someone, ask yourself, what is this really about? Is it really about them, or is there something deeper going on within me? How are they me? And so projection, which is the mirror of judgment, this powerful concept is when we unconsciously attribute our own unwanted feelings, thoughts, or traits onto someone else. For instance, if you find yourself judging someone for being overly ambitious, that judgment might actually reflect your own fear of being too driven or failing to reach your goals. So in essence, what we judge in others often highlights what we struggle with internally. Make sense? And so let's say, I'll give you an example. Imagine you feel irritated by someone's constant need for attention. You might think, why are they so needy? But if you dig a little deeper, you might realize that this judgment reveals a discomfort with your own need for validation. And so recognizing these projections can be eye-opening, hard to hear or recognize, and can help you address your own insecurities or unresolved emotions. These realizations are also known as shadows. So if you've heard of shadow work, this is the work you are doing to bring these from your unconscious to your conscious mind. And so here's a question for you to ponder. What is one thing you frequently judge in others? And then I want you to flip the lens. How might that same quality show up in your life, even in smaller ways? In past episodes, I've spoken about how long I focus on understanding the difference between judgment, discernment, and observation. And so one of the big judgments I had, or the root causes of a lot of the judgments I had, was about people who didn't take responsibility for themselves. And I had to spend a lot of time on the work on understanding how is that me, it's because I wasn't taking responsibility in certain areas because I was actually tired of taking responsibility from something that happened when I was younger. I was rebelling, I was rejecting. And so that was a root cause of why those judgments were existing for me and how that was my projection. And you see, our judgments are also, they reveal to us what we value. And so when you feel strongly about something, it's often because it aligns or conflicts with your core values. So for instance, if you're highly focused on personal growth, you might feel frustrated when you see others seemingly stuck or wasting their potential. But you see, this judgment isn't just about them, it's reflecting your own value for growth and progress. And so the potential you think you see in them is actually a judgment you're making of what you would do if you were them. And that's not always fair because you are not them. And so understanding when you make judgments, they are showing you either how you are holding your values or the opinions you have of people because you are not living that value that's important to you. You are doing what they are doing. So on the flip side, sometimes these judgments highlight the values that we have let slip. In that earlier example, if you aren't fully embracing the things that you value, you can judge someone for taking the risk. And perhaps that judgment is highlighting a desire within you to take more chances, even though you might be holding yourself back out of fear. And so recognizing this can be so powerful. It can be a powerful motivator for self-growth and change the trajectory and the pace in which you are growing and your life is going. And so when you think about a recent judgment you've made about someone's choice or lifestyle, look, it's probably 5 minutes ago. It's probably as you could be making judgments of what I wear or what I'm saying. It could be of the person that you interacted with at the school drop-off this morning. Think about a recent judgment you have made about this someone's making or the lifestyle they're living. And what does that judgment reveal about your own values? And are there values you're embracing or resisting in your own life? So a really common one is judging people for what they wear. Or you walk into McDonald's and there is somebody who's obese ordering at the counter and you're making a judgment about them eating McDonald's when they look like that. Do you understand that you are also in McDonald's to buy the same junk food? But you've made that judgment to make yourself feel better about that decision and that you must have more self-control because you're not obese, but they are. That judgment is real. And for what purpose are you doing it to make yourself feel a certain way about your own choices? And these are just some examples. Perception is projection is everything. You are projecting. Your reality is a projection of everything, of all of your beliefs, of all of your limiting beliefs, all of your choices, all of your values, all of your decisions, everything. And so when you start to understand that every time you meet somebody, every time you think something, and you ask yourself, how is that me? Then you start to take back control of your own life. And you start to actually, truly create the reality that you want. But you're the problem, not everybody else. Judgments can also shine a light on our insecurities. So if we're insecure about something, we're more likely to notice it and judge it in others. For example, if you feel insecure about your body, you might be judgmental of other people's appearances. It's a way of deflecting attention from your own insecurity by focusing on others. And this can be tough to acknowledge because it forces us to confront parts of ourselves that we'd rather ignore. But recognizing these insecurities can be transformative. When you catch yourself judging, take a moment to ask, what am I insecure about here? Why? does this bother me so much? And it might feel uncomfortable, but it is the first step towards self-acceptance and growth. Sometimes, judgment also acts as a defense mechanism, and I'm speaking from my own experience here. We use it as a way to protect ourselves from our own uncomfortable feelings. For instance, if you judge someone as being overly emotional, it might be because you've been taught to suppress your own emotions. Judging them becomes a way of avoiding vulnerability within yourself. Recognizing that judgment as a defense mechanism, it helps us see where we are blocking our own emotional growth. And so by softening our judgments, we actually open up the possibility for greater compassion and, where needed, empathy. And not just towards others, but towards ourselves. And in doing so, we create space to heal those parts of us that have been hiding behind the shield of judgment. So when we put the armor down, as Brené Brown would say, and we start to get vulnerable, this is where the magic is. This is what humanity needs. Now that we understand how judgment reflects our own inner world, how do we move forward? One powerful approach is to shift from judgment to curiosity. And with that curiosity, holding compassion. So instead of thinking, why is this person like that? Try asking, what can I learn from this reaction? What is this teaching me about myself? Because curiosity turns judgment into a self-discovery tool rather than as an obstacle or barrier. And so another approach is also practicing compassion. As I said, holding that compassion. So when you find yourself judging, imagine yourself in that person's shoes. Ask yourself how they might feel or why they might behave in that way. And by showing compassion to others, we often start to treat ourselves with more compassion too. And we need more compassion for ourselves and for the humans around us. And so the next time you catch yourself in a moment of judgment, pause, breathe, and ask yourself what it reveals about your own life, values, or insecurities. What lesson is there to learn about yourself? Because there is always a lesson. There is always an opportunity to learn. And so the next time you find yourself judging someone, remember that judgment is a mirror. It is showing you a part of yourself that's either unresolved, neglected, or ready to grow. And so by approaching judgment with curiosity and compassion, we can turn it into a powerful tool for self-awareness and personal development. And in a world that often encourages us to judge quickly, let's choose to look deeper. Let's choose to see. Let's embrace the lessons hidden in our own judgments and allow them to guide us on our own journey of growth. Because when you do, your life will never be the same. Your relationships will be better. You will be living in abundance. You will have more love than fear. And if that is not the purpose of life, I don't know what is. So thank you for joining me on this episode. And if you found it insightful, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from a little self-reflection. And remember, every person we judge is a potential teacher, reflecting parts of ourselves that we're ready to explore. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember that your journey to self-discovery is a gift. Thank you for living life by 8, and thank you for being here.